So, happy Mother's Day. Would any moms be honest enough to raise your hand? I know you don't want to go to prison, but is there times maybe prison can feel a little better than being a mom? Anybody? Yeah. You just want to use the bathroom one time and not have little hands crawl on it, like, Mom, I need, yeah, okay, so I get it. I thought that was funny. So anyways, we're in week 3 of our series called RelationSlips, and today, first, I just want to go through a quick review for you guys. So if you weren't here last week, no problem. I can catch you up in like 2 minutes. I know that's risky because some of you are like, why didn't you just say it 2 minutes last week and we could have gotten out of here? Because you go on and on and on. I know, I'll go fast today. But basically just to get the premise here. So this was last week's summary. This review, we said all of us, guys, girls, ladies, gents, doesn't matter. You guys have hopes and dreams. And a lot of how you picture relationships. So for example, some of us saw parents and people around us or grandparents do it really well, and we said, that's the way I want it. And you got in your mind this plan. Some of us saw it done really, really bad, and we're like, I just know I don't want it done the way that my parents or whoever. But what we said is what happens, you have all these different things. You think about the cars that we're going to drive, right? And so we get married, and now there's 2 of us, and we're going to have gorgeous children and tons of them, and the house all picture perfect, and a front yard. We love that. Our calendar's already set up. We'll never argue about who's doing what, so that will work out. And how much money we're going to make. Obviously, we're going to be loaded, so that's good. And what we said is this. When I take my hopes and dreams, I've been married for literally 24 years to my wife. When I take my hopes and dreams and I put it in her box, it's not hopes and dreams anymore. It actually feels like expectations. And when it feels like expectations, then the love and the marriage and relationships, it doesn't have to be romantic, start to go south because it's very heavy to feel like you have to carry this around all the time. And what happens is we keep dumping more and more stuff, so it just feels like expectations. So that was kind of the whole premise of last week, just so you know. And here's the review. We said, here's what we want you to do. We want you to drop the expectations of what they owe you. We said, that's it. And here's the question I asked. I said, my wife, she's in this one. She's in the back. I said, the healthiest thing I can do is say this. Her name's Jonda. What does Jonda owe me? Now, some of you may be like old school. You're like, she owes you everything. She's your wife. She should do this. But really, in all seriousness, what does she truly, as another human being, owe me? Nothing. She doesn't owe me anything. And when I can release that and I can share that stuff, we can talk about it, we can work on it together, but I release it and say, my wife owes me nothing. Nothing. No expectation. I don't expect something from her. And we said, but then there's this weird twist because what it turns into, and this is the way that Jesus lived. Jesus, all the people he encountered, he expected nothing from them. I don't, literally, you don't owe me anything. But Jesus flipped it and said, but I feel like I owe you everything, including my life. And we said, if you want to be happy in life, happy couples know this. She doesn't owe me anything, yet at the exact same time, I owe her everything. So what I want to do is kind of read through a love chapter. I did a wedding last night. I told you guys before, always read 1 Corinthians 13. You get all the women crying. You get everybody. It's just a smooth chapter. I don't think Paul wrote it like that, but either way, here's what he says. So I want to talk about this concept. He says in verse 1, chapter 13, if I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. I'll make it 2025 for you guys. He says, if I do all this good stuff, but I don't have love, I'm just literally the annoying alarm on an iPhone, right? That you can't get to fast enough, and it's just going off during a funeral or a wedding or here. He says, if I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all the mysteries and all the knowledge, and I have faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. Now, I want to camp here for just a second because I'm going to push on the Bible Belt just a little bit, okay? Here's how the Bible Belt works. This is what, and we're raised in it, and some of you probably will believe this, but I'm going to push back for a second. We believe the most spiritually mature people are the people who have the most Bible knowledge. We do. Oh, they know the most about the Bible. They must be clearly the ones closest. That's what they did back then, too. And Paul says, that's not how it works. I'm all for you guys reading your Bible. I hope you do. I really do. I hope you do that. But even if you don't, he says, I can know everything. And this is why this is dangerous. I'm going to tell myself for a second. You see, let's pretend like I have a gift of speaking, Okay, let's pretend like I have a gift of public speaking. I know some of you are like, you don't so far. Fair enough. I get it. But let's just pretend for a second that's a gift. That's just a gift. But I can get up here and read stuff and say stuff, and you're like, oh, man, that's good. And what can happen is I can go get in my car, and you can get in your car and be like, man, that guy, I mean, he is so spiritually mature. I can be not spiritually mature at all. Matter of fact, I would challenge you guys this. You want to know how spiritually mature I am? It has nothing to do with what I do up here. Who cares? Ignore me. You can watch people on TV and be like, they're so good. They must be so close to God. They could be doing all kinds of crazy stuff. You know how you tell? Honestly, I'd challenge you to do this. I'd say, talk to my wife. So what's he really like? Talk to my kids. They're the people that's going to tell you, because Paul's saying, look, you can know all this stuff. A lot of people do. But if I don't have love, man, it's nothing. It's nothing. He goes on. He says, if I give all I possess to the poor, everything, give my body over to hardship so I can brag about how I've sacrificed even my own life. He says, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Now, the reason I wanted to share this with you, and I think this is so important for all of us in here, is if I just ask you today, you need love. Most of us, even guys, would be like, yeah, I've got love. I mean, I care about my kids, and I think some of us maybe not, but my brother probably would say no, but the rest of us would be like, I think I'm a loving person, right? I've got love. But what Paul's about to do is say, no, let me explain love to you. So I'm going to give you just a quick thought, okay? When we are owed nothing, when we live in this world of like, I am owed nothing, then what we do is we create room for everything in our relationships, romantic or not. So when we get out of this kind of entitlement of like, oh, well, I can't believe they're not doing this for me, then we actually create room for everything to happen that's really good in our relationship. And we're like, no, I've got love. Okay, well, here in just a second, we're going to get to that, what Paul says love is. So we said last week, just quick review, we said happy couples and happy people know this. They know that nobody else owes me anything. Yet if I want to be happy, I'll live like I owe all the people close to me everything. I know it doesn't make sense, but it works. So if I say, my kids, my wife, my parents, they don't owe me anything. This church doesn't owe me anything. But I feel like what's healthy for me is to say, but I want to live like I owe this church and my wife. I owe them everything. That's the mind shift that happy people get. So this week we're going to talk about the gap. And the gap is where expectations and experience don't match. So this is part 2. This is how this works, okay? So what does happen is I get married to my wife, like I said, multiple years now, and we have different roles. Hey, can you pick up the kids? Hey, someone needs to pay the bills. Hey, da-da-da. And what happens in every relationship is we have expectations, or we have moments where like, I expect you, or I'm asking you to do something, and then we have what we really experience. And in every relationship, there's a gap. Okay, so many times, I'm going to go ahead and warn you guys, you'll be like, oh, I thought you were going to do this, and they don't. It might be at work. Oh, I thought you were going to take care of that report, and you didn't. So there's a gap. So the question becomes, what do we do in the gap? Every relationship, work, personal, romantic, will experience the gap. And I want to talk about that today because the gap is so important. What do we do in the gap? Let's continue on with what Paul says. Let's think about what love would do. He says, love is patient, love is kind. So when there's a gap, what he's saying is, instead of complaining or getting negative, I'm actually going to show maybe patience to you or kindness. You're like, dude, this doesn't work in the real world. Okay, bear with me for just a second. How do I do that? He says it does not envy. This is love. It does not boast. It's not proud. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. This is one of my favorite. It keeps no record of wrongs. Keeping no record of wrongs in the gap means I can't say, well, I've asked you 7 times in a row. Do you remember the last 6 times you've let me down? No. The gap, I can't do that because love doesn't keep record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. Now, I'm going to give you guys a human psychology thing that can help you so much in life. Just side note, non-churchy, this is important. This is how humans work, okay? Humans will judge other gaps, other people's gap, my spouse's gap, my kid's gap. I'll judge all of them by their actions. But I'll judge my own personal gap by my intentions. Now, this is important because how I'll judge you, if I say, hey, I'm going to be here at 6, you don't show up at 6. In my mind, there's a gap. It's supposed to be 6 at 6:10 p.m. What do? In that, I'm going to judge you by your actions, so you're not trustworthy. But you might judge somebody intentions like, I've tried to get the kids, I had to go to practice, you wanted to be here at 6, you just didn't. Matter of fact, I have one job here, and I'm scared to say this here because this is when all of you will kill me. I have one important job at C3 Church. Like literally, it's on my job description. It's number one. I've got to do this more than anything else. I take care of the coffee every week. Do you know that? We have it like on a timer. I have to get it ready. Well, this week, okay, I had 2 graduation parties. I had a wedding last night. Super swamped. A ton of stuff. We've had some personal stuff happen here. It's been a crazy, crazy week. Off the chain. I literally am taking a shower this morning. You're welcome for that visual. I'm taking a shower. Picture someone that has an eternal sweater on at all time. Okay? Taking a shower. And in the middle of taking my shower, I'm not kidding, guys. I'm talking like 7:10 a.m. this morning. I went, coffee. It was like Kevin McAllister, like, coffee. It hit me. So I rushed to get ready. I tried to get here early. And sure enough, Randy, he's the 9:30, he's the man. Him and his wife, Sherry, amazing people. He's there, he's sweating. He said, no one had the coffee ready. No one's turned on. It's supposed to start at like I don't know, like 6:30 a.m. or something. And in that moment, you know what can happen? I walked in, I was like, dude, seriously, that's my fault. I'm so, like, I own it. It's all me. And I got ready to give all my excuses, and I thought, Randy don't care about my excuses. Does he? All he knows is you're supposed to have this ready. I walk in, and he helps me. He does other stuff with the coffee, but it's like it's not even ready. And I was getting ready to go into, you understand, man, last night, things got crazy. There's personal stuff going on here. But it was like, he doesn't care about my intentions. He only cares about my actions, right? That's how we judge people in the gap. So here's what I like, and I want you to hear this. Love, this is what Paul's saying, it's not a feeling. It's an action with a choice. Now, I'm going to share one of the greatest life lessons my wife's ever taught me. My wife has a story. I've heard her tell it to young couples. I've heard her tell it to people struggling. I've heard her tell it to parents at the ballpark, parents whose kids, people are coaching their kids. But yeah, I'm going to say it real fast, but you got to hear this because I think it's such a genius. It's a story. It's made up. My wife tells a story. So if we're talking with young people, or if she's told it to her kids multiple times, here's how the story goes. There's this town. There's an old couple sitting on the bench, like into the entrance of this, USA town, whatever. And this young couple comes in. Nice car, got the U-Haul behind them, 3 beautiful little kids in the back. And they pull up and they stop at the stop sign and they look at the couple and they say, hey, we're brand new. We just bought a house in this town. And you guys, have you lived here long? They're like, yeah, we've lived here all our lives. And they say, good. What's this town like? And the old man, who's really, really wise, is sitting on the bench with his wife of 60 years. And he says, what was your last town like? And they're like, you wouldn't believe it. We're literally heartbroken because we had to leave. Our neighbors salted the earth. They became our best friends. The school system, we don't want to leave the school system. Teachers were great. The administration we loved it. And then they say, and Little League, they all love sports and playing. The coaches, just how it's ran. And so many people volunteered their time. They're like, we are sad to leave because our town was amazing. And the old man says, you're in luck because this town is just as good. And they pull off, and they're happy. And about 2 hours later, another couple come by. Exact same look, exact same story. And they're like, hey, we're new. We're kind of wondering. We're nervous about coming to a new town. And the old man's smart, and he says, what's this town like? What was your old town like? And they're like, honestly, we're glad to leave. Our neighbors, we could never get along with. The school system, don't even get me started. And the Little League coaches, they play favorites. I shared that on Facebook a few times. Right? I mean, we gave it to them. You don't understand. Like, even in Little League, they would pick other kids over our kid. They had favorites. Yeah, they're called starters. Right? I mean, this is called what it is. They have favorites. They start them. And it goes there, and they're like, no, it was miserable. It really was. It wasn't a great town. You know what the old man says? Hate to tell you, but this town's exactly the same. Now, here's the point that she's saying, and she always says after she tells the story, she says, you will find what you're looking for. Think about that. I think it's genius. Even I've heard her tell it so many times, but this idea of you will find, if you keep looking for something, then you will find it. You'll find it. And this is the real tragedy, is most of your life, you'll find out, is a self-fulfilling prophecy. It is. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I'm doing this wedding last night, and we finish up, and my wife and I, when the kids were little, we had so much going on. I would do weddings, and man, I'd get out of there because we had stuff to do. Now we're old, and we're basically empty nesters. We crash all weddings. I mean, I'm not kidding. We're both, what's on the menu? I'll be like literally getting ready to walk up to do this whole ceremony, and I'll look over at her, and she'll be like, taco bar. I'm like, does it look good? Chicken? Yeah, okay, we're going back and forth. So we're sitting there. I'm sitting outside. They're taking pictures for a long time. And so we're all just kind of waiting to eat. And this guy comes up to me, and he gave me what I would call Anheuser-Busch advice, right? I won't say he didn't know where he was at, but he was feeling it. He was feeling good. And he's just kind of talking to me. Very nice guy. He's a few years older than me. But he said this. He was like, when you were talking up there, he was like, I really did appreciate. So I just gave, here's some quick hitters of marriage advice. And it was just basically like, never keep score. Never get historical. Don't bring up stuff in the past. Never raise your voice. Never say never and always. I mean, I go through all these nevers. He's like, those are really good. And then he paused. This is so awesome. And he was like, I've been divorced twice. He said, I'm not married right now. And he said, I don't think I could tell anyone how to do anything right. He said, but I could tell some people what not to do. He said, because I've done it all. I could write the book on it. And so we're just talking. He keeps going, and he said, when you said never keep score, he said it hit me hard because I was thinking in both of my marriages, what happens is we started getting this debt-to-debtor relationship because you owe me, and I'm mad, I'm holding grudges. And he said this. He got real quiet, and he was like, it makes you miserable. And I'm not kidding. I promise. I'm in church. If I'm lying, I'm dying, right? Go to hell. So I don't believe that. But anyways, I look over at him, and I literally said, dude, I'm using this tomorrow. And of course, like I said, he's feeling it. He's got a little liquid courage in him, so he keeps going. And he kept saying stuff. And he said, it got to the point where we would literally be looking for ways to catch up each other and stuff. And he paused, and he was like, it's just no way to live. And I promise, I know it sounds like I'm making this a story. He literally ended with, he said, I guess what you look for, you're going to find. He literally reiterated what my wife says all the time. Why? Because it's true. It's true. If you want to keep looking for something, I promise you guys, you'll find it. Now, I know you guys are in here and you're like, okay, Trent, I'm not doing that. That doesn't work in the real world. You live in a fairy tale and this Jesus stuff. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I get it. But let me ask you this. Think about your children who you love. I have a daughter, sophomore in college. One day, she possibly will get married. The day she does, before they do anything else, they're going to get engaged. I'm going to sit down with both of them. I'm going to give them advice. And here's what I'm going to say to my daughter. I'm going to say, Tegan, listen to me. Do you want to be happy? I mean, not just exist. Do you want to be happy with your husband the rest of your life? Listen to me. It's real simple. Set a trap for him every day. And that idiot will step right into it. Because, Tegan, you don't understand this, but I do as a guy. Men are idiots. Right? And we will screw up a lot. We will do a lot. And just set a trap. And every day try to catch him in the gap. Catch him. And then what you do is you make him pay for it. Day after day. See, all of you can joke, but you're like, oh man, nobody wants to live like that. I don't want my kids to live like that. I don't want my kids 20 years in marriage saying, well, we got to stay together for the kids. Can't afford a divorce. I pray for my kids that are like, oh no. Like, look how happy they look. Why? Because here is the concept. This is what love does. So here's how we're going to close. So you can say this. You're like, okay, Trent, so I get it. We just all lower our expectations, right? Everyone in this room, all wives, listen to me. Just expect nothing. I remember talking to a guy, chewing tobacco in, literally Coors Light. I don't know why the beer theme's happening, but it was there. But he literally said this. This is his life advice. In the middle of just nowhere, he said, I have zero expectations for everybody. Then nobody ever lets me down. And he spit. And you guys are probably hearing me and you're like, there we go, right? You just said, have no expectations. Of course she's going to let me down. My wife always lets. Of course he's going to be late. He's late every day. Of course. No. I'm really not saying that. So I'm going to read this last verse and we'll be done. Verse 7. Here's what got me. When I was about 20, I'm reading through this, and it's all this. This is what love does. This is what love looks like. This is how God loves us, I think, which is probably the best news of all this. But there's something here that caught me. We'll put it on the screen. He says, love always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Now think about this for a second. This is interesting. Everything this guy named Paul who wrote this says up to this point, all of love involves me. I'm going to look for the best. I'm not going to keep records of wrong. I'm not going to do. I'm going to always protect. I'm always going to hope. I'm always going to persevere through the hard times. I'm going to look at my wife and say, hey, we're in it to win it. But always trust. At about 20-some years old, I was like, that doesn't make sense. Because trust isn't on me. Yeah, I always trust my wife if she's trustworthy. I always trust my wife if she can close the gap. But sometimes she doesn't, and that's when I get disappointed. Another translation said, always believes. Always believes. So, let's be honest. Some of you in this room right now, some of you, I believe, wholeheartedly, followers of Jesus, love Jesus, want to learn this amazing life he's giving us and how to live this life. But some of you here watching online are like, I don't believe that. I came for the mimosas and the free pictures, right? I came because my grandkids getting dated. I get it, awesome. But here, there was a book in 2004, maybe 5, by Marcus Buckingham, okay? And this book is called The One Thing You Need to Know. It's all about business management. But even if you don't believe in Jesus, hear me out for just real quick. They do a study in this book. So it's all business and leading. But just this random kind of side note, he goes into marriage. And he says they did a 20 to 30-year study. And what they did is they found all the happiest couples. They actually ended up finding 105 happy couples. These were people who had been married 40, 50 years. And when they talked to them, they said, marriage has been the best part of our lives. Like they weren't like, yeah, we're just going to trudge through because that's what you do. You don't get divorced. Like they were literally happy. And here's why I told you that. Here's the assumption they made. They said, to stay that happy, you just have to lower your expectation of the other person. Basically, don't have expectations. They found out, though, polar opposite was true. And here's how they found it out. So, like I said, my wife's here. We're going to pretend like it would be us too. They would take me and they asked me like 70-some questions. And I had to rate myself on a scale of 0 to 10 on all those. Are you dependable? 6. Are you loving? 3. Are you? So I'd give myself numbers. But then I'd go back and do my wife. Is she dependable? Okay, 9. Is she loving? 10. Is she honest? 10. And then what they did is my wife would come over here and she'd fill hers out. And then when they compared, they said the 105 couples who are happy all did this. None of the other couples did, and they weren't happy. It's genius. Guys, you got to admit, this is the price of admission today, right? Okay, no one cares. Okay, but here's what happened. They found out every couple, both sides, every time in the 105 couples, they ranked their spouse way higher than their spouse ranked themselves in every category. And they said this. They said it was almost like love was blind because they started talking to these people and they're like, you, Mildred, just gave Bill a 9, like on being funny. We've talked to him for 8 minutes. He's not funny. He's a 1. And they said literally she'd be like, he's hilarious. Like it was like they literally were lying to each other. People around were like, that's not realistic. But to them, and they're like, here's the thing, it wasn't a show. They're literally looking and like, he is hilarious. He is. You said that she's trustworthy, but we all know her in the community. She ain't trustworthy. And he's like, but he believed it. And here's the genius of this study. Here's the advice he gives in that book. He says, so if you want to be happy in a relationship, anytime there's a gap from literally expectation to experience, every time there's a gap, you want to choose the most generous and positive explanation for that person. And he says this, believe it. Say that again. Anytime there's a gap with someone you really care about, the first thing you got to train your mind to do is, I'm going to take the most positive, generous explanation. Well, he's late again. He's late again. Well, maybe he's helping someone. Maybe he's helping someone else at work. Maybe he's buying you flowers. That's too far, right? Yeah, but literally, you pick the most positive, generous explanation of that person, and you believe it. And he said when they do that, those people literally spent 40, 50 years happy. Now, I try to be honest with you guys, try to shoot straight. There's some obstacles to this, right? There's obstacles. Let's talk about what are the 2 obstacles that we see. The first is what we see, right? So when you think about this, it's literally like this. What's the obstacle? I ask her if she would cook dinner. I get home, dinner's not made. Okay, Trent, I get that. Trent, I would get it if it was a one-off. You know how many times I ask, my wife could do this. You know how many times she reminds me of stuff? And she gets home, she's like, did you? Oh, right? She can be like, no, I told Trent 20 times. So what I see doesn't add up. I'm going to give guys, it's Mother's Day. We're not going to pick on them, just the guys. I'm going to give all guys a hard time for a second, okay? Guys get a bad rap. It's like, oh, they're always forgetting. They're just big knuckleheads. They don't know anything, right? They're always, like, literally, I was thinking about it. These guys are always forgetting, right? Or they let someone down. So I did a survey. I took literally like 50 people I know and just surveyed all the guys. And you ready for the real numbers? Guys will forget or let you down 100% of the time. Okay, we're out. Right? So I get it. It's what you see. But Buckingham, he didn't even say in that study, he was like, it doesn't matter. Paul says, but it always trust. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. The second part, though, is what we sing. I'm going to get heavy real quick, but some of you had a mom or a dad who they left, never around. Some of you were in very horrible and abusive relationships. Some of you here was married and it was the love of your life and they cheated on you and they left you. And here's why I'm telling you this is so important. Because if you're not careful, you're carrying baggage. All of us do. And what you'll do is, say you get remarried. Well, all of a sudden they're late one day. Or you ask where they're at and you don't know where they're at. You know what you're going to do? You're going to fill in the gap. I bet they're cheating on me, right? Maybe you had a dad who was horrible. So every guy you're ever with, you're like, the second they even get a little bit upset, and people get upset, you're like, I bet he's going to be abusive. And I know it's horrible, but what we do is we fill in the gap sometimes, and it's not true. Back to the great advice from my wife, sweet baby Jay. You're going to find what you're looking for. You're going to find. So you're like, okay, Trent, so I'm confused now. You said we're supposed to literally drop the expectation that they don't owe me anything. Here's the catch-22. Here's what happy people know. You want to be happy today? Even if you're not married, even if you're single, you want to be happy? Here's what you learn to do in every aspect of your relationships. Catch-22. I said before, you're going to drop your expectation of what they owe you, but you're going to raise your expectations of who they are. Which means I'm going to believe the best until I can't believe it anymore. I'm going to believe the best until that moment happens. I'm going to raise my expectation of them. Why? Because real love doesn't just expect, it believes the best in others, even when the evidence isn't clear. So what do we do today? I can sum all this up. I know you're like, dude, wish you would have done that 27 minutes ago. So what choice do happy people and happy couples make? And hear me today, hear me. Because in that moment, ladies, moms, we love you. You deserve so much better than us. We get it. But can I tell you this? That moment when he's being a complete moron, right? In that moment, you're going to get so angry. And here's what you're going to lie to yourself. You're going to say, I don't have a choice, because you think it's a reaction. But Paul's telling us, no, love has a choice always. And this gap isn't a reaction, no matter how emotional you think it is. Guys, oh my gosh, you don't understand. She's in a bad mood and something's going on. And it's it seems like every month she's doing this. Wink, wink, okay, I don't know. Anyways, there's a gap. Here's the thing. You got to understand, in that moment, it's a choice. You always have a choice in the gap. It's not a reaction. It's a decision. So what do we do? What do they know? Here's what happy people and happy couples do. What Paul just said. Love always believes. In the gap of my life, if I want to be happy, I'm always going to believe the best as opposed to assuming the worst. Let me say that as we get ready to pray. And the gaps in my life of my relationships from what I expected and what I experienced from other people, when I can learn to do this and say, I'm still going to literally believe the best about them and their intentions as opposed to assuming the worst, I become happier. My relationships become happier. I'm just an overall happier person. But you, and some of you in here, God bless you, you're very negative. You've lived in a negative world. So what happens is anytime something doesn't go your way, you become very negative and angry, and you assume the worst. Keep doing it. But I warn you, you will never be happy. So what do happy people and happy couples know? As we get ready to pray, they know that every time there's a gap, I'm going to assume the best, believe the best, as opposed to assuming the worst. And if you do that, try it. Try it. Try it for a month. Try it. When you're used to like, there she goes again, try to just say, you know what? She probably has a lot more going on than I realize. You know what? Her intentions probably weren't to just let me down. You know, she's got a lot of irons in the fire right now. Same for your husband. You know what? Maybe their intention, they're working late and you can't believe it because they don't want to be with you. And the whole time they're like, but this could help out our family and this could help our kids. They're actually trying to be for you. And you took the gap and just made it something terrible. Believe the best, not assume the worst. So let's close our eyes just a second. We'll pray. Father, I thank you so much for this group of people. I thank you for the people watching online. God, I don't want our relationships to slip. And I think for some of us, if we're honest, today is a great way to be reminded that maybe, just maybe, I can become happier. I can have better relationships when I do just a couple simple things. And the first is I am literally going to drop the expectation that anyone, even people who love me, owe me anything. And God, I want to try to live in the submission competition to where I literally live like I owe the people, this collective body of church people. God, I owe them everything. God, I owe my loved ones and my family, my children, I owe them everything. But they don't owe me anything in return. But secondly, not only drop those expectations, but I'm going to raise the expectations of the people around me. I'm going to believe the best in them. Anytime there's a gap between what I thought would happen and what actually happened, I'm going to believe the best. And by doing that, God, we realize from this one tiny little obscure verse that doesn't seem to fit all the rest, love always trusts. Love always, better translation, believes the best. God, help us today as we walk out these doors to be the type of people that are not only happy, but people who believe the best in others when others want to assume the worst. God, help us in this room to believe the best until we just can't believe it anymore. Help us to be happy. Why? Because we serve and follow a happy God. I know that's not the picture that most of us get of you, God, but that's who your Son showed us to you as. A happy God who loves his children, who wants his children happy. Thank you for that. Today I pray for Mother's Day. I pray for so many amazing women. I thank you for just the incredible mom that I've had, the incredible, a great mother-in-law. I thank you for my amazing wife. Thank you for all these different women, even if they're not moms, just how amazing they are. We celebrate them today. God, I pray they have an amazing day. They deserve it. They deserve way more than just a day. We ask this in your name. And amen. Guys, hope you have an amazing day. Enjoy it.